Hi YouTube. We're back for some more with the ASH26. As you can see now, we've got the horizontal stabilizer mounted. We've got the elevator ready to receive the linkage. One thing eventually I gotta get a handle of is if I'm going to do anything different on this. I'm not crazy about the way it looks. I'll get there eventually. Now, let's check and see how dry this glue is. Still got a little bit of white there showing. Probably gonna have to wait until tomorrow to get to the next step on that. I did look. The guy who sold me the plane had mentioned that in this bag of goodies, there's evidently some material that's used to support this, and I failed to realize that. And so evidently somewhere in these instructions it shows how to build that. But I still don't really see it. Probably because I haven't gotten far enough in there. Okay. Alright, here's the instructions for that I totally missed. There's a little adapter that's designed into this wood. So let's just dump all these pieces out. We'll see if we can figure it out. Ah. Is that it? Looks like it's possible that could be it. Just looking at the pieces here. Is there another bag of stuff over here? No. No. Negative. Negative. Maybe it's just these and they just don't picture it exactly the same way. It sure does look like this. It's been trimmed to a certain height. That might be it right there. Okay, so... oh, you gotta slide these both on from the top. Well, I'm glad I didn't screw that up. So that assembly goes something like that. And then this assembly is slid together something like this. Okay, so then this would get glued in. And it looks like these things will help to reinforce. I can't tell if there's like a backing on this. It's really hard to tell if there is. Looks like there's a bunch of those pieces. Okay, so if that takes care of one half of it, so there's supposedly this little part here too, which not exactly seeing that. These must have been blanks. I definitely don't see that part. I see what looks to be these things. A bunch of those. But that's it, man. And I can't even tell you exactly. Yeah, that one's supposed to be made of plywood. Unless I'm missing something here. But yeah, these little pieces that are broken, I think were just from breaking out the materials. I know what this is. This is part of the landing gear mechanism. It's possible maybe I missed some somewhere. That's definitely the right pieces. I'm just going to look through the directions real quick. You can see where that piece goes. This goes something like that. A couple screws help to make that adaptively fit. And then it fits into the plane like that. That's a good find right there. These are used for making the tow release, the tow hook release. If I were using the tow hook release, which I'm not. So that's an unused component. Put these over here. Maybe I lost it somewhere. Well, whatever the case is, we at least have identified most of the parts. It's tricky when you've got one of these kits, guys. It's a lot harder than it looks to figure out exactly what everything does. I did figure out how the wings are going to attach, so I'm excited to get that going. Oh, another one of these. But yeah, so just out of curiosity, we'll see how this might work. Okay, so once this is glued together, then that's going to slip up in there, and then you can see there must just be a sweet spot where that hits. But I still am not real privy to getting that all glued together just quite yet, in case I have an issue. But I'm glad I noticed that with, Ian's help. And the exact placement of that little clip in the front is what worries me the most, is just making sure I can get that exactly correct. So I think our next maneuver is going to probably be, oh look, and here's the other pieces. We got a few of these. These pieces are going to go together to help thicken up the plastic where that pin reaches across. So that worked really nice. So basically that's going to get glued under here somewhere. And that's going to be the portion that then receives the I'm not sure if that's going to go here or what, but it's good to know that there is sort of a game plan there. And then there's a whole lot less guesswork. So at some point I gotta get the servo in here. So that's probably gonna be the next step. So let me start thinking about that now. I have to try to figure out a way to keep this from falling over and damaging itself. So maybe I could do that. Except I need it to be out of my way so I can see. That's satisfactory right there. I don't think it's going to stay though. We'll just try it this way maybe. Nope, that's not going to work either. Let me pause it, I'll get this figured out. Okay, so the first step is going to be to figure out a way to get a wire back here from the front, because we have to be able to get the wire through, and once we plug the hole with the servo, it's going to be challenging to get a wire through. So we might as well work that out real quick. Okay, so I got a number of different extension cords that we could use. I also have just cable, which should be fine in this event because I could actually get it to the exactly the right length. But let's just see how far off these are. So I have these labeled as being long, which means they're probably pretty long. Let's just look at that. So that means that from the front to the back, we're going to have a joint somewhere. And worst case scenario, it would go all the way to the opening. So you're going to have two of these to make the length. That I'm not real excited about. Let's just double check that they're all that length. The longest ones, of course. These ones are 30 centimeters. I think these ones are 30 centimeters as well. Go ahead and get one out and we'll try it. It looks the same. If anything, it's a couple centimeters longer, but it's close enough to be the same length. So what that means is I'm a little bit tempted to just build my own. I normally don't build these things, but I know how to and I can. It's just not something I normally like to do because it's kind of a pain in the butt. sometimes when you've got a plane that's worth doing it in, you know, you can save a little bit of weight. And I kind of like the idea of having just one wire rather than 2 or 3. So I'm just gonna kind of stretch this out. And so the easiest way I know to get this wire through is going to be to just find something long and skinny that's long enough to go all the way through. And that's not going to be long enough to reach all the way. I know it will be. This one would be long enough. It goes all the way to the floor. But that might be a little bit too long. I think this one will work. That should be able to get it where we need it. What I'm thinking about doing is feeding it from the tail to the front, because they're both unfinished ends, of course. So we don't really gain anything by going one way or the other at this point. And we'll just leave the tail out here, and then we can feed it up through that bend. So, need to get this taped on here. I've done a really good job of covering up every possible workspace with crap, which tends to happen when you're doing these projects. I'm usually pretty good about not doing that, but when you get into one of these projects, you start spreading stuff out to find things, and next thing you know, you got piles everywhere. And you think, oh, well, I'll just finish this step I'm on and then take care of that. It's exacerbated badly by filming. So now, I could also feed this down possibly right now. Just curious if that'll go easy. I don't even know if I need to feed it down. I think I'll probably end up feeding the servo cable down from the other thing. Okay, so it's not giving me any trouble at all, in fact. Can't believe how easy that went. I'm going to get my forceps so I can pull that through. Jeez, it made it right through. I can't believe that. Things never go that easy. Really hope I'm not shooting myself in the foot putting this wire through first. Shot myself in the foot tangling around all that crap. Okay, now, I don't know exactly where the receiver is going to go yet, but let's just suppose it's going to go up at the nose. It can't need to be any longer than that. I'd rather waste a little bit now, with the understanding that I can always use something a little later. But we want to keep weight down, so I'm going to be careful to trim that to the correct length. So we know which servo we need now. We figured this out in an earlier video. We got these two covers. They appear to be for the ailerons, and then this appears to be for the rudder. So in looking at this real close, I'm just trying to figure out if there's a backing on it. And it's one of those pieces of plastic where you just expect to scrape it and have the thing slip off. You know, have the backing slip off, but it just never seems to slip off. Okay, so we have a bunch of these little screws too that we're going to be used to hold all this crap together. And I don't know if those screws are the screws that are supposed to hold these on. I think the directions might actually show that. But these look like they would be the right size screws. So I'm sort of reluctant to dig into these without assigning them to a particular piece. Because right now I'm looking at screws that are being matched up to certain components. And then I'll end up short later. But I think these are just screws that come out of like a servo. which would be fine with me if we found that to be true. Okay, so those screws are gonna... See, I just honestly, I can't tell. It looks like this has a certain amount of curvature to it, which means it would go like that. Let's just double check the instructions. You see how the hole's to the left as we're facing that? It looks like it's facing to the right on the drawing. So it would actually be like this. They show these screws. Those screws are not the screws. So evidently that's not exactly the way that's going to turn out for us. Okay guys, so I dropped one of those screws. I had to sweep the floor to find it. It was pretty awesome. I didn't figure you guys would want to watch that. Alright, so as you can see, we have plenty of length to get down to the bottom. So, just to confirm that real quick. Just dropping this down. Except there's some sort of an obstruction halfway or so. And I honestly don't know what it is because it's getting caught in there. It's really annoying too. I don't know what the heck could possibly be in there. But there's something in there. Okay, that's not going to work. Take this. Take this, grab it at an angle. Okay. Okay, so now I've got this endoscope camera that I could use to look inside of it. But it's kind of like, how the heck are you supposed to get this wire out? It's gonna drive me nuts. Could pick up the plane and try to shake it down. Of course, you never really get a good view. No matter what you do, you never really get a good view in there. Because it's always obstructed. So there could be a piece of wood all the way across it. I would sure as heck hope that they thought to leave an open channel, but there's nobody saying that they did. Just because you assume that they're using common sense does not mean that they did. Ooh, felt like it made it down that time. I don't know what I did different, but I did something different evidently. Okay, so I'm going to set that in there, and the first thing I'm going to do is grab a little piece of tape, because I have a feeling we're going to have to tape this servo to keep it in place until we're ready to actually get it going. Okay, so it's taped. Now I need to get the wire down and through the corner. Trying to get my... Okay, so I can see it now. But I can't get the camera to where you'll be able to see it. The wire's sitting right here. But I don't know why it doesn't want to fall down. It's kind of weird. It's right down at the bottom. Okay, I think I know how to grab it. I might be able to grab it this way. There it is, guys. Woohoo! Okay, so now, in order to complete this connection, of course I need to, put an end on this. But before I can do that, really, for practical purposes, I sort of need to have this mounted. Well, What came first, chicken or the egg, right? You got to make a decision one way or another. I want to keep this label, but I got to stick this to the servo door cover. And so I guess I am going to give up the Emax label. Luckily it says the number on there as well. I might just go ahead and stick it on the other side so it's easy to find if we'd have a failure or something like that. Okay, so now I can control and manipulate that a little bit better. And I'm torn on how to fasten these things together. I'm not torn necessarily on how to mount it. I've got a bunch of different choices. The first of which is quite simple, and that would be a piece of double-sided tape, which is what the directions call for. And I don't know, maybe I'll do that and then just see if I have a problem. I'm really annoyed that the hole appears to be wanting it to go that way. There's that definite bend in this. Okay, I'm going to do something that might seem a little crazy to you folks at home. And it seems a little crazy to me too. Just warm it up a little bit. See if it'll bend. I'm just going to try to get that contour the other way. Got to hold it until it cools a little bit more. Because I'd really like to try to keep things as close to spec as possible. I've flattened it a little bit. Well, whatever. It's probably fine either way, to be honest. Okay, so now this servo came with a variety of different mounting doohickeys. And I'm probably not even going to use any of them, because really, that would only be required if I were going into like a balsa wood structure. In this case, I'm probably double-sided tape to hold it in position, and then I'll turn around and actually use some epoxy. Now, I have choices of control arms to use with this Emax servo, which if I didn't already show you, it's this one. This is an analog servo, plastic gear. The ones on the wing are Metal Gear digital servos. This is the type of linkage that I expect to use. But then if I went with this, I could actually get a little bit more throw out of it. But this is the elevator after all. I actually have accessibility to this device, so I sort of hate to go too crazy on it, because I can actually get to it. I can take this back out after I'm done working on it. So now, I don't know if this is centered or not, so I'm just going to put this on here temporarily just to kind of get the fit. Okay, so that's pretty much the way that's going to go. And we know approximately where it's going to hit. So now it's just a matter of getting some double-sided tape on there. We'll probably rough up that plastic a little bit with an X-Acto knife. And then we'll get some double-sided tape and get some epoxy mixed up. Okay, so this is the moment of truth. I say I just need to go for it. This is the way the diagram shows it, so I'm going to go ahead and no going back now. I just do a crosshatch pattern. That's pretty much always what I do. I can't think of a time where I've ever had anything actually come undone in a situation like this, where I had a servo come loose, ever. Granted, I do a lot of foamies, so Just making it very unlikely for this thing to come undone. Alright guys, we're about to run out of memory, and we'll pick it up right away on another video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.